Greetings, everyone. We're at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. At least that's what time it is on this side of the world. Yes, we're at the hour. We're at the 8 o'clock hour here, y'all. And oh my goodness, we are happy that it's Friday. Yay! It's Friday. Oops, let me put this back on. It is Friday. Yes. Hello. um, but I just wanted to start off to say thank you, for this time, and thank you for the um that the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart is acceptable in the sight of what is right and what is good and kind and loving, and I embrace it all. So when I looked at the psalm today, I was kind of pleasantly, as always, surprised. I got my, let's see, my candle is almost out. Look at that. It's almost getting ready to the end of my candle. I love to burn candles, and when you see I use a white candle, the psalm today is talking about using a pink candle. I have this book, it's called The Power of the Psalms. And I don't do all of that. I just get the white candle, and whenever you see it's white and like it's like frosty, that's a good energy, right? When it turns smoky, like in a um, black smoky way, and I don't want to use black as a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. But there's that, it's void of light, in other words. So yeah, so my candle is has got a good energy. As you know, I've been going through some losses, and trying to recover. So recovering and healing was the word yesterday that I really like, that word healing. Um, and so the Psalm today, 42, is very powerful. According to this book, this psalm is read when friends have betrayed you. And it says, place the name of the one who has misled you beneath a pink candle, and on the other side of the paper, copy verses 9 through 11. Um, Burn the candle for a few minutes each day until comfort is attained. So people do these things. I don't do that, you know. Um, I look within as opposed to putting things outside of myself. And, I just have my little white candle. That's it. I don't put a paper under it or write somebody's name and do all this stuff. No, I don't do that. Um, what I find that is empowering is when you can look within yourself, and you can read the psalm and reflect on you. That's what I do. So in the psalm today is Psalm 42. And Psalm 42 is, I always like this psalm because it's comparing yourself to a deer that pants for the water brooks. Okay. Someone told me the other day that they hit a deer, and I was like, oh my gosh. Um, yeah, that was kind of scary, to hit an animal on the road, but I'm glad that they're okay. Everybody's fine. The deer may not be that great, but the Psalm 42 is looking at comparing how a deer pants for the water brooks, as your life should pant after righteousness, like seek out that, like a deer is seeking out water and that's thirsty. So what are we thirsty? Are we thirsty for other people? Are we thirsty for, what are we thirsty for? And that thirst should come from righteousness. It should come from a good place. It should come from, the righteousness and love and kindness. That is what we need to go seeking after, right? And oftentimes we don't do that. We get into situations that have lured us with our eyes and lust as opposed to love truly in the God space. And it's not just about going to church on Sunday and thinking everything's going to be okay. You have to put the work in with yourself, inside of yourself, putting away things that are not progressing you, putting away things that is not moving you to your next chapter in your life. And when you put away things that are not strengthening you, you become weak into, and you fall into you know distress. And who wants that? Who wants distress? I don't. Thank you for liking this video, by the way, for those of you who are on here. I think I only have one person. But Psalm 42, I like the fact that, it's a comparison of comparing to a deer that's panting for, water brooks, and I was just talking to a good friend of mine about, I like moving water, like water that is flowing and alive. um, I don't mind going into a pool once in a while, but I prefer, by a creek, sitting down. When I go walk my dog, there's a little creek there and I sit by the water. So I like that. So Psalm 42 is, see, it's telling us, each one of us, and I've read this Psalm 100 times, it's telling us how we have to seek after righteousness, goodness, mercy, love, kindness, and all of the attributes that ring out, the love and tranquility that is so prevalent. I mean, it's out there. We're just distracted by all these kinds of things. So in Psalm 42, we have about, what is it, 11 verses? Yeah, I think it's about 11 verses. And it, like, as I said, it starts off with a deer. So as a deer pants for flowing streams, so pants I and I life for you, O God, righteousness, mercy, love, long suffering, patience, kindness, grace, mercy. These are things that my life is panting for, oh God. And that's what God represents to me. Okay. In verse 2, it goes on even further. My life thirsts for righteousness. Like, I want to lay down with righteousness, lay up. I want to wake up with righteousness. I want to go to a botanical garden with righteousness. I want that. So my life is thirsting for that, for the living God. Bob Marley said something. He said, you don't have to die to go to heaven. It says you're going to live in heaven. You're going to live because God is alive. It's not a dead God you're serving, right? So in verse 2, this living God is what you should be thirsting for. That living God is represented in the people that we meet. When I look at someone, I'm like, oh, God looks like that. God looks like that. God looks like, it's all images of this one. And you've been created in that image of goodness and mercy and love. And therefore, that is what should come from you. And that is what you should be about, right? So in verse 2, this appearance of righteousness is coming from people. Just like the devil can be in people and they can do nefarious things, so can God's righteousness be in people, and they can do the right things. You just have to be that one to be first to do it. Do the right thing, and then you're going to attract that righteousness to you, right? This is what's happening to me. And I'm thankful because I didn't, my mom said, you're going to find, someone. And my mom is like, and then I'm just like, okay, it's happening in front of my eyes. And this happened to me the other day. I was looking for something and it was right in front of me. It was right there. I'm like, look at there. So that was a signal, a sign for me that what's there for me is right there in front of me. It's there. It's right there. I don't have to look further. So in the psalm today, when we talk about, panting and wanting, and what do we pant for? What do we want? I want righteousness. I want goodness, mercy, love, and kindness, and all of the attributes that are of the Most High. That's what I want. So in verse 2, it ends with a question: when shall I come and appear before righteousness? When? It's a question. When shall I come and appear before God? You do not have to die physically to appear before God. People say, oh, you got to die to see God, and you got to leave the body and be one with it. No, no. Leaving your body to be one with God is an illusion. Okay, that's what the churches have taught us, so we can be, keep lay low. However, when you tap into your own goodness that's coming from the higher source that put it there, it just didn't, it's there because of that higher source. When you tap into that, you're going to know that that living God lives within you, and you are a representation of that. Okay? You are a representation of that. You represent all that is what God is. And serving that living God is serving life. It's looking at life in your physical, the things you eat. Are you eating living foods? Okay. A friend of mine just texted me a picture of some vegetables roasted, and I was like, "Oh, that looks so good," but I wouldn't roast it too long. I want it to get the crunch. I'm going to even eat it raw. No salt, no sugar, just raw food. I'm getting to that point. So, but that's living food. What that picture that was sent to me about, that's living food. That's life. That's vegetables. That's fruits. That's, my son said he's going to be a fruitarian like Steve Jobs. Like he wants to, he's emanating that energy of Steve Jobs. And I'm glad he is, because that is going to move him into finding his creative self to create something to help human beings while making money from it too. So making money is not the first thing. It should be afterwards, but your first goal should be, how are you helping people? What are you doing to help people? Like my app I'm creating is going to really revolutionize the way we look at ourselves, from children to adults, So this app is like really major, and it's important that we align ourselves with these good behaviors, eating healthy, intellectually putting in our minds, quality television, and not a bunch of crap that's not elevating our minds. Emotionally, looking at ourselves as beings that are more righteous beings than human beings. That makes sense. And that defining our emotions, and valuing our emotions. You're sad. Okay, let's see what's making you sad. You're depressed. Let's see what's making you depressed. What is that? That's making you this way. So inevitably, we have to come to the knowledge of ourselves. Really, that's really what it is. So I'm glad I can be on that journey with like-minded individuals who want to be better and not bitter. So in verse 2, we see that it speaks of that thirsting for righteousness, for the living righteousness, and the question of when shall I come and appear before that righteousness. So verse 3 goes kind of deep into the emotional part of it here. My tears have been my food day and night. While folks speak to me all day long, where is your righteousness? Where is your God? Where is... Verse 4. I remember these things, right? I remember as I pour out my life, right? How I would go with the throng and lead them in procession to the house of righteousness with glad shouts and songs of adulation, a multitude keeping festivals. So in verse 4, David, the psalm here, the psalmist is remembering how he or she would go to church with, in the procession to the house of the Lord. And in verse 5, now it's a question like, why are you sad? Why is your life, saddened? Why are you in turmoil within you? Okay, remember that everything starts from within. And verse 5 is like, look to the future. Look to righteousness. For righteousness shall again, you will again, make songs to righteousness. That's your future. That's your most high. That's your almighty, right? And verse 5 and 6, verse 6 now, my life is casted down within me. Therefore, I remember righteousness. Hey, respect. Come here. Stop that. Stop it. So that future that you have, you're building for that future. So that's why in the first verses it talks about, you're thirsting for that righteousness. That's the building that you're doing for your future. So you're putting your hands into righteousness. You are sharing goodness and righteousness. You are, giving of your kindness. You're just embodying goodness and mercy and love and righteousness. Okay. And that is your future, and that is your God. It's not people or human beings that you're serving. I tell my son, I'm not serving you. I can talk to who I want to talk to. I can do it. You are not my God. So we can't serve people. We have to serve righteousness. And when we do that, we serve ourselves. We're good to ourselves. We're right to ourselves. And then we can be good and right to someone else. How can you be good and right for someone else if you're not good and right with yourself? It's just, you're going to bring baggage and trauma to someone else? Like, no. I'm 55 years old. I don't need the trauma and drama. So my life, where therefore I remember righteousness from the land of Jordan and Hermon and Mount Mizar. These are places that is being referenced in Psalm 42 verse 6. Verse 7, it goes into deep calls to deep at the roar of waterfalls. All the breakers and the waves have gone over I and I, right? That's really deep. During the day, the Lord, that's righteousness, commands steadfast love. And at night, that song is with I and I. A communication to God of I and I life. I speak to God, I commune to righteousness, and I'm asking, why have you forgotten me? Right? Why do I go mourning because of the oppression of the enemy? Right? As with a deadly wound in my bones, my enemies taunt me, my adversaries. While my adversaries speak to me all day long, where is your God? Where is Selassie the First? That's what they ask. Where is Selassie the First? That's your God? You worship Selassie? Who you worship? They question me every day about it. And I'm like, what is the world? Someone even came on my live and asked me, do you worship Selassie? And it was just interesting because the Psalm 42 is talking about that. You know, people are going to taunt you. They're going to ask you these questions. So I serve righteousness. That's who I worship. Okay. I worship righteousness, goodness, mercy, compassion, long suffering. What else? Forgiveness, grace, kindness. I worship those attributes, patience, serenity. Yeah, those are people's names actually. Somebody that I used to know got with somebody with some children, and one of their names is patience, one of the names is serenity. Isn't that so interesting? However, verse 11 is asking the question again, right? Why are you cast down, oh my life? Why is my life sad, you know? And why are you in turmoil within you? You know, I had to ask these questions. I had to ask this. Psalm 42, I had to ask these questions. And in verse 11, why are you in despair, my life? Why are you disturbed? Hope in God. You know, that's your future, is righteousness. You're going to have a good future of goodness and righteousness and sitting by the lake and having your hot tea and conversating with a good person. Okay, that's an example of salvation. You don't have to die to see it. It's living. According to the Psalm, it's a living God. It's a breathing, living, like the Psalm yesterday, talking about eyes to see. So the God has human attributes, okay? So that's the future. And in that future, I shall again give adulation to the Most High. I shall give adulation to that salvation, that future. So when people in church and they're giving, they're like, they're actually giving this praise and thanks for their future, that they are going to have a bright future. And that is your Savior. That is who you worship. You worship righteousness and doing the right thing. Apologizing is a good thing to start off with. You know, if you have wronged someone or you have cursed someone out, that, you know, whatever the case, I always use the vicious voicemail as an example. You got to apologize. You got to repent. You got to find it within yourself to say, you know what? I was wrong. I was a bitch. I shouldn't have called and left that message, or I shouldn't have lied to you and cheated on. You know what I mean? Come and be honest. So in this psalm today, I love the fact that it gives us a good foundation for the verse today coming from Colossians chapter 3, verse 15. And Colossians chapter 3, verse 15 is talking about in your hearts, inside of you, from within. Let that love of Jesus, people call in Jesus' name all day long, but then they are leaving vicious voicemails, cursing folks out. So don't be contradicting. If you're gonna call on Jesus, you've got to go the full kahuna. You can't go halfway. You got to go all the way. So let the love of Christ, that's righteousness, rule in your hearts. Because as members of one love, one goody, one body, right? You are called to love each other. You were called to love and to be thankful for that. I told somebody, I'm thanking God for you. I thank God, I thank righteousness for you. I am not going to thank you yourself. You are not you yourself without that goodness and mercy of the Most High. We are nothing without that. We will be crawling around here having orgies and sleeping around with folks and all kinds of nefarious things if we when we don't have that goodness and that mercy and that compassion and that long suffering and that honesty. Long suffering is about physical fasting, fasting from food, from sex, from whatever the case may be physically, because the flesh is weak, but the mind is strong. And that's what you want to strengthen, right? I go work out, I do my arm works out and do my stuff. But I would rather be doing that on a farm, right? Digging up in the dirt and girding my horses, cleaning up the saddles and brushing my horses. All that is a workout. Lifting up the saddles, those things are heavy. I like the Western saddle with the horn on it, and sometimes the English saddles, I like those without the horn on it. But those things you got to lift. You got to lift the hay. I always said I want a wood stove and I'm going to go out in the backyard and chop my wood out, chop it, chop it, chop it. That's working out my arms, y'all, right? Getting the wood, putting it in the stove and getting it ready to prepare meals. So when we talk about our future, we want to have a living future, right? And the Psalm today, 42, really talks about that. And the verse today, Colossians, kind of is the icing on the cake. Chapter 3, verse 15. So when I look at the word today, it's the cherry on top, okay? And it's about peace in the world. I don't like to use the word peace. I like to use the word tranquility, calming, harmonious. There's a harmonic pattern when you seek after God and his righteousness, her righteousness. Depends on how you look at that. So the words today are peace in the world, love in the world, more love in the world, right? And it's about each one of us helping to create that love in the world. How are you going to create love in the world today? What are you going to do? I am going to the mailbox and sending off my miracle oil. Carla May's miracle oil. Get one today. Oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. I don't even look at the money. I look at the healing for people and the relief of pain. It's like, that's what it's about, right? Helping people and making the world a better place. So we talked about this at the top of the Psalm. But the words today, it talks about, I may struggle to act and speak in loving ways. Okay. Remember the vicious voicemail? That person struggled to act and speak in a loving way and left a cursing voicemail. Difficult interactions, disappointing experiences, or just a plain frustrating day can try your patience, right? When this happens, you need to pause and silently affirm. Repeat after me. I choose to find good in my life. I choose to find good in my space. I choose to find good at my job. I choose to find good in my classroom. I choose to find good in my library. I choose to find good in my business. I choose to find good in my miracle oil. I choose to find good in my educational app. Microsoft, Google, Apple. Which one's going to have it exclusively? Okay? I aspire that all I do and speak contributes to love in the world. Okay? Everything you do contributes to something. What are you contributing to? What are you doing? First thing in the rise, I spend time in communication to God to elevate my perspective and keep myself centered. This is what I do. Every rise I get up, I chant my psalm and I go live so that my children can have this when I'm gone. My children's children. Hopefully, YouTube may still be around then. So I do that first thing in the rise, right? In the evening now, I review the day. So at 7 o'clock, I'm in the bed getting ready to think about my day. What did I do wrong? What did I do that I could do better tomorrow? Right? So all of that. And reflecting on how my words and actions contributed to love. How did your words and actions contribute to love? Did your words and actions in your relationship, whether it's with your children, with your coworkers, with your spouse, with your mistress, with your girlfriend, whoever. Okay? How has your words and actions contributed to love? Working toward love is not something I have the luxury of doing only once. Working towards love is my ongoing commitment to live the ideals I hold for myself and all others. With positive expectation, I see the image of a world in harmony. What did I just talk about? The harmonic pattern. We want to get to that harmonic pattern. So this words today, love, more love in the world, is brought to us by Romans 12, chapter 12, verse 18. Romans chapter 12, verse 18 speaks, when it is possible, so far as the possibility depends on you, live lovingly with everybody. When it's possible, so far as that possibility depends on you, live lovingly with everybody. Okay? Live lovingly with everybody. That is important. And I told someone the other day about it will be such a beautiful world when people who have gone on in their relationship with someone else, everybody can be okay. We can all be cool. We can all be, nice to each other. I look at this example as a man cheating on his wife with a mistress, and the mistress and the wife come together. The mistress and the wife come together. There's a movie like that. It's called The Other Woman or something. Yeah, and they become besties. So that would be so cool to happen. I would love that the person that I was with, their person they're with, we could be friends and talk like, you got to love her some more. You got to love him some more. You got to do this more, I don't want them. They chose you. So, happy life. But you need a happy wife to have a happy life. So that happiness starts from inside of you, from within. It cannot be searched out outside. You got to find it first before you can share somebody else's happiness. So that is our Our words today, love more love in the world. And our verse today, we need to have more love in our hearts. That's how we're going to get more love in the world. By having that love in our hearts ruling us, that righteousness has to rule in our hearts, right? Because when we look at the verse today, the psalm today, it's all about your inside of you, right? So that's our psalm today, y'all. I gotta go to the post office. I was supposed to go yesterday and never went. So I got my stuff packed up and ready to go today. So thank you all for joining Chant Samba Day. I hope you got something out of this. And I really do hope that, we can bring more love into the world through our own love that we have in our hearts, and in order to build that love in our hearts, we have to do things that are loving to ourselves, self-care, self-love. That is the key. So I just want to say thank you for joining Chant Samba Day. Have a blessed, beautiful day, everyone. And remember, it starts with you. It starts with the summer day. It starts with you standing in love and not falling in it. Stand in love. Don't fall in it. Have a blessed day, everyone. Take good care. We'll see you next time for Chant Samba Day. See you next time for Chant Samba Day. Remember, stand in love. Don't fall in it. Have a blessed day, everyone. See you